Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to take a look at the Butterick B6684 pattern. This is a top pattern that have so many different variations and so many different possibilities. I'm going to go ahead and get right into the video because I have made quite a few top patterns with it. So we have a lot to cover today. So I'm going to go ahead and start off by talking about the features of the pattern and also my adjustments and modifications. And then I'll tell you the possibilities and things that you can do with the pattern. So the pattern comes in sizes 6 to 14 and 14 to 22. So you get two different groups of sizes. It is a pullover top that have a collar extending into ties. And then you also have an armhole and sleeve variations as well. So in terms of armhole and sleeve variations, the view A is the variation that you would have a sleeve binding for because you don't attach a sleeve, but it's somewhat of a grown-on sleeve. And so you have a little small like cap sleeve, if you will, because it's just a really small grown-on sleeve, and you do have binding for that pattern. So you do also have two different neckties. So you have a very narrow necktie and you have a wide necktie. So you'll see two different variations. I'll share with you the wide variation that I have made as well as the narrow variation. There's not really much difference when they are around the neckline that you can actually see like a huge difference between the two neckties, but one do use up quite a bit more fabric than the other. And so I will tell you my experience with that just in case you don't want to use that much fabric, because it does use quite a bit of fabric. And then also you're not putting it on like the way in which you're situating the tie is on the bias instead of actually the grain or the cross grain of the fabric. And so that will take up quite a bit of fabric as well. So just keep that in mind. In terms of other variations, you have a view B, which is also kind of like a grown-on sleeve, but you could put a ruffle around the sleeve. That variation has a necktie as well. And then view C, you have a necktie, but the necktie is, so this is a different necktie than the variation view B, because this necktie sits higher up on the neckline, and you also have like a keyhole opening at the lower edge of the neckline. So you do have a combination of like a round keyhole type neckline and a V neckline. So depending on which one you choose will determine which tie pattern you would choose as well. I hope that makes sense. And then for view C and D, you have, this is your actual sleeve pattern where it is a short, kind of like a shorter sleeve. For view C, it's just your sleeve, and then you will just do like a really narrow, I think it's 5/8 of an inch of a hem on your lower edge of the sleeve. And then for view D, you do have a flounce pattern that you can attach to the sleeve, but the sleeve is still a short sleeve even with the flounce on the pattern. So overall, I did like this pattern. I did make view A, the grown-on sleeve version, years ago. It was about, I would say maybe 4 or 5 years ago when I first purchased the pattern. And I didn't quite like the grown-on sleeve on my bicep. And then also I chose a fabric that was just not a good fabric for my frame and for like my bust and things. It just made me look very out of place. And so I kind of shelved it. I think I completed the project, but I donated the top to the Goodwill. And so I put the pattern away for several years. And then this past year, I started to just expand the sleeve pattern and do just all different types of stuff with the sleeve, because I found that the body of the garment itself, like the front and the back, as well as the neckline and the tie, was very promising. And so I wanted to go ahead and work with the sleeve pattern. Even though the sleeve was very narrow for me, I decided to work with the sleeve pattern because the body of the garment was just so amazing. So the first variation I chose a size 16, and I'll put the size here because I've been working on this pattern all throughout last year and this year. And so I can't remember like the actual measurements themselves, but I'll go back and look at my notes and go ahead and put those measurements here in the video. So the size 16 I found after doing my mock-up, and so I always do a mock-up with a muslin fabric, with a cotton fabric. And so having that in mind, if I decide to use any type of silky type fabric like a rayon or any type of crepe de chine or anything that's silky, I know it's going to give a little bit more than your regular standard cotton muslin. And so usually you can get maybe a half a size, maybe even a size up. Depending on the style and whether or not it has a little bit of stretch or whatever. And so I decided to stick to that size, even though it was a little bit form fitting with the size 16 with the muslin. I thought, hey, it'll be fine because I'm using a rayon fabric. And even though it did fit and it does flow, I did want a little bit more room in the bust area. And so I went up to the size 18. I really did enjoy the size 18 more than I enjoyed the size 16. And so for the size 16, I'll put an image of the garment that I made with that size 16. So it is one of the first garments that I have made with this. And it is a beautiful, so I don't know if you remember my wrap dress. I did a wrap dress series this past year. And in that wrap dress series, I included a Butterick pattern with a fabric that I used that was from Mood Fabric. And it was titled Fancy Fawn or something like that. And it's this beautiful blue and white animal print fabric. I had a little bit of that fabric left over. I did have some problems with that fabric, so I'll go ahead and put the wrap dress pattern review in the description box below so you can go over and look at that wrap dress pattern review before you decide to get this fabric, because I'm not advocating for this fabric at all or promoting this fabric, because I did have some issues with the fabric. So please watch that pattern review if you decide this fabric is gorgeous and you want to buy it. I want to have full disclosure and have you guys know what the problems are before you go and purchase that fabric. So anyway, that is the fabric that I used for my first variation, and it had I used the size 16, and so that was the smaller size. So I did, before I used that, because remember I told you I did a mock-up in the muslin, I noticed that I needed to do a forward shoulder adjustment, and I did that by a 1/2 inch. I expand the sleeve pattern, and so I used the short pattern, the short sleeve pattern, and I lengthened it, and I also expand it across the width so that I can include gathers at the shoulder line there, because I knew I was not going to be able to fit that short sleeve pattern. It's just way too narrow. Even after trying to do a bicep adjustment and accommodate for it, it was not working. And so I decided to just do my own sleeve pattern for this project. And so I will tell you, if you're someone who has a larger bicep and your bicep usually measures larger than most commercial patterns are designed for, you will have a problem with the sleeve pattern. You will. It's a very narrow sleeve pattern. And so I did make those adjustments for the sleeve, and I made 2 different variations of a sleeve pattern. And again, I just used the original design for the actual curvature of the sleeve pattern, because I wanted to keep that curve. All I did was extend the pattern in between the little dots that they give you on the pattern to have you ease the shoulder in. I just expanded the pattern in between those dots by, I believe I cut it into thirds, and each one I put about 1 inch in between each one so that I can actually get gathers at the top of the sleeve head there. And then from there, I just kind of either widen the bottom of the sleeve so I could get a bishop sleeve, or I just kind of made the sleeve just a straight sleeve if I wanted to have a straight sleeve. And you'll see what I'm talking about with the different images and videos that I put of the different garments that I've made. This one here is the straight sleeve pattern. As you can see at the lower edge of the sleeve, all I did was I turned the lower edge of the sleeve inward, and I did a 5/8 of an inch hem on the sleeve. And so there's no gathers at the lower edge of the sleeve, no bands, no elastic, none of that. It's just a straight sleeve. The only thing that I did was I expanded the sleeve head so that I can get a fuller sleeve and full gathers at the top of the sleeve there. You'll see that the neckline of that one has a kind of like a flounce or a ruffle around the neckline. So I took the flounce pattern out of the Berta, I think it's 6221. It's one of my TNT patterns. It's a really gorgeous, simple, easy dress pattern, but I took the flounce detail off of that and I just adjusted it to the neckline of this garment here. So I think I added about a 1/2 inch of length to that one because it needed to be a little bit longer. But other than that, I didn't do any other adjustments, and I put the flounce around the neckline. So that's all I did to that variation. I just wanted to see what I could do different than what is presented on the envelope here of the Butterick 6684, and I really do like the way that that one turned out. The only gripe I have with that is that it is, like I said, it's the smaller size, so it's the 16, so I don't have as much room in my bust area for that garment. So the next garment that I decided to make with this pattern is the one that I'm wearing, and the fabric was a fabric that I purchased from Minerva after I did a Minerva sponsored video and project for the Pause and Play cotton sateen. I actually liked that cotton sateen fabric, but I decided that I wanted to get it in a viscose rayon. And so I purchased about a yard and a half of this beautiful Pause and Play in the rayon challis. And so I decided to go ahead and make this top with it. And as you can see, it's really, really bright and fanciful. And so I really do like it. I lengthened the sleeve a little bit more than the first variation that I made. And then also I increased the width a little bit so that I can put an elastic inside the sleeve. And so this variation does have an elastic at the lower edge of the sleeve as well. So it's pretty wide as well. It's pretty wide elastic. I think it's a 1 inch wide elastic. And so I wanted to get, again, a different look for each one of these garments that I have created. And so the neckline, you'll see the tie here. This is the wider tie. And so I had some black challis voile fabric that I purchased from fabric.com before they closed. Decided to use this beautiful, beautiful black fabric as a contrast to it. I really do like this variation as well. And as you can see, it has shoulders on, it has gathers on the shoulder head as well. So absolutely love, love, love this. It's just a really fun make, and it can be paired with anything. I paired it with the black skirt, some jeans, and I've just been wearing it all throughout the summer. It's a really nice make. Next, I made a variation without like the huge pussy bow neck ties, but I do have like little tiny ties that are around the neck line. And so for the little tiny neck ties, I believe I took that pattern out of a Simplicity pattern. And I decided to go ahead and sandwich those little ties in between the neckline and the facings. So you do get facings for this pattern. So you do get a front and back facing piece. And those facing pieces are quite large. You are going to be cutting in between the facing pieces as well. It's really hard to explain, but it's one of those facings that for the neckline that is really big, and you have to like sew around the neckline and sew like a V. And so for this next variation, this is also a rayon challis that has a slight bit of stretch in it, not much, just like 1% or something like that. And I purchased that piece from Minerva as well. It is a navy blue and ochre, or like a a dark marigold or some kind of color like that. It's so gorgeous. It's like a fall print. So, so, so gorgeous. I absolutely love that variation. And I think I've worn that one the most. It doesn't have like the big pussy bow neckline on it or anything like that. I just wanted to share with you guys how you can actually use this pattern in so many different ways, including omitting the neckties as well. So that one's a little bit more like less fancy and a little bit more kind of like casual or semi-casual. So I really do like that one, and I've been wearing that one a lot as well. I made the shorter sleeve, and that one does not have any elastic or bands or anything at the lower edge of the sleeve either. And then I made two more. I made another fall variation that I expanded the sleeve and I put a cuff on the lower edge of the sleeve. And I believe for the cuff pattern, I believe I took that out of the Sew Over It pussy bow blouse. And so I use that cuff for the pattern for the next two that I'm going to be sharing with you. So the first was made with this crepe de chine from Hobby Lobby. I made a dress out of that pattern, or I made a dress out of that fabric last year, and I absolutely loved it. So I went back and got some more of the fabric, and I made a top. And so this one I made the, I used the slimmer tie pattern. And so as you can see, it really doesn't have much of a difference. It doesn't look too much like it's that much of a difference between the different ties. One of them is a little bit longer than the other, but other than that, they're basically, they look almost the same. So for this one, it's a beautiful fall print. It's a cream background, and it has on the foreground marigold and this really deep teal color. Just such a gorgeous, gorgeous print. It's a floral print. And so really, really gorgeous. I really love that one. And as I stated before, I lengthened the pattern and I gathered the lower edge of the sleeve, and I put a cuff on the on that one as well. So that one, since I made it last year, well, most of these were made last year. I've only made one of them this year. So since I made it last year during the fall, I was able to wear that all throughout fall last year. It was so, so just fun to wear that all throughout fall. So I did have fun with that one. And then lastly, I made a recreation of an inspiration picture that I saw on Pinterest. And it's this gorgeous emerald or Kelly green color top with a pussy bow neckline, long sleeves that have gathering on the lower edge of the sleeve and a cuff on the sleeve. And so when I saw that, I thought, oh, this is so gorgeous. And I know just the pattern to use to create this look. And so I decided to go ahead and make and recreate this this look with this pattern. It's such a gorgeous, gorgeous top. I'm so happy that I made that top. I made the V neckline style with that one. It's such a gorgeous, gorgeous top. Love it, love it, love it, love it. I had so much fun creating all these different styles with the Butterick B6684. I can't speak to the sleeve pattern because I didn't make the original sleeve, but in terms of the front, the back, the tie, like the neckline and all of that. And then as I mentioned before, I did make the original version of the View A with the grown on sleeve, but I just donated it. And so I can't speak to all of those. It's just a phenomenal pattern. I absolutely loved it. I didn't have to do much in the way of adjustments. Like I mentioned before, I did a forward shoulder adjustment, and then I lowered the bust dart, because you do have a side bust dart. I lowered that down by like an inch, but that's pretty much it. I think on one of my top patterns, I think it's the first one, the Fancy Faux Fawn, I did shorten that one a little bit. And then after wearing that and after seeing how short it was, I decided to go ahead and lengthen the top back. And so all of the top patterns are the length of like how it was designed straight out of the envelope. So again, really enjoyed this. This is an easy pattern. I think that you can, depending on how you decide to design your sleeve, whether you keep a short sleeve or whether you do like I did and you lengthen your sleeve or create a bishop sleeve or do a short do a short 3/4 length sleeve, or however you decide. I feel like you can use this pattern for all seasons, and I really did enjoy it. It really was worth every minute sewing every garment. And I still want to sew one more. I want to sew a pink variation because I saw a Pinterest inspiration picture that was similar to the Kelly green top with the pussy bow top around with the pussy bow around the neckline of the top. I want to create a pink variation of that as well. And so I think after that, I'll kind of hang this pattern up for a while, but really did enjoy it. You let me know in the comment section below which one of these tops you thought looked the best on me. And also if you sewed this pattern, let us know what your experience was like in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure you give the video a big thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. If you enjoyed the content, please consider subscribing to the channel. And I can't wait to talk to you all in the next video. Bye.